You're tuned in to Last Stop Waterfowl Outdoors podcast. Waterfowl hunting and conservation is our passion. We cover everything outdoors, from the blind to the banks. Come along with us as we hunt and fish our public land reserves and bayous throughout Sportsman's Paradise. Tune in for interesting interviews and takes from much of the industry's most intriguing outdoor companies, content creators, guides, and historians as we discuss various topics as they pertain to our pursuit of waterfowl and everything outdoors. This is Last Stop Waterfowl Outdoors. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now here's your host, Jacob Robery.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a new episode of Last Stop Waterfowl Outdoors podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Robery, and tonight, guys, it is great to be back in the studio with y'all. We have a special guest on the show tonight that you guys, if you follow any sort of social media, particularly TikTok or any of the social media platforms for that matter, you will probably recognize this young man right here, Mr. Kade Bidstrup from Wet Birds Waterfowl Company, guys, right here out of Louisiana. We are going to have him and welcome you to the show, Kade, tonight. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Oh, thank y'all for having me, man. It's honestly an honor. I would have never put myself in the same conversation as a lot of the guys that I talk to now. So it feels good, awesome. and it's a huge blessing.
Well, good, man. Hey, glad to have you on, like I mentioned. And really, you and I kind of struck up a conversation on social media where a lot of guys are noticing what you're doing on social media, to be honest with you, you know. And we'll talk a little bit about that in this episode. But for those people who may not be familiar with who you are, who you represent, why don't we start out by telling them a little bit about yourself and what you guys are doing?
So my name's Kade Bidstrup, like Jacob said. Really, I have a passion for the outdoors, and I like talking about, the good things of hunting, because on social media you get on there and, everybody, you get a lot of those guys that are really negative, and those voices tend to shine. So I started posting, and it was just kind of like I'm going to talk about what I believe is right, and then also strike up conversations. Those aren't being had enough, especially respectful ones, So that's kind of my goal. And then recently I've been on a big kick of conservation, I guess you'd call it. Seeing some of the WMAs around here, not say go down, but not be what they once were. I've made a few videos about that, kind of showcasing that. But yeah, I'm just a guy that likes to talk about duck hunting. So
yeah, and you are part, or I'm not exactly sure how. I'm going to ask you, co-founder of a company called Wet Birds, is what it is.
So Wet Birds is a company / content creation thing that a buddy and I, is actually 4 of us or 5 of us when we first started. Life happened. So me and Dawson, I'm sure you've seen him in some of the posts if you've seen him. He actually came up with the idea. He texted me one night late and was like, hey, man, let's start trying to film hunts and making hats and stuff. And I was like, I'm game. I love this. So let's do it. And we started in 2022, and it's been really slow process. Us being in school, working, everything, it's been slow. But hopefully this year is the year we really put the hammer to the nail on the content side, at least. But we don't really know what the future has in store for us. It's 4 of us now: myself, Dawson, Damon, and Matthew. We're all good buddies. And then Damon and Matthew were kind of a new hire, I guess you'd call it. I've known them both for a while, and they're great guys, and they fit the part perfectly. 4 different personalities. So we're like, you know what, let's roll with it. So
yeah, absolutely, man. Y'all have a really good connection, a really good kind of gel to what you guys are trying to do with Wet Birds. And you guys have even dabbled into a little bit of the podcast side of it already early in y'all start. And honestly, one of the things, I think I messaged you a few weeks ago, I watched a podcast that y'all went over to right around the central Louisiana area. Y'all sat down with Mr. Dale Bordelon, who's a personal friend of mine. We've had Mr. Dell on the podcast before, and y'all, I was really impressed, man. I got to hand it to you. I thought y'all did a really good job in the interview with Mr. Dale Bordelon, who's everybody who has become real familiar with, not only in Louisiana, but nationally for what he's been doing over the last several years. And I thought that that podcast, I think I texted you. I said more people need to see that podcast, that sit-down interview that y'all did with him, because it was really good, guys. So for those of you listening tonight, if you have not seen this episode that I'm referring to, you could go check it out on your YouTube page, right, Kade?
Yes, sir. It's only on YouTube, unfortunately. I talked to Joe Sparris with Flyway Connections, and he said he was gonna, once we really hone in on the content side, he's gonna help me kind of set up the streaming and putting everything on Apple Podcasts. But it's on YouTube right now. I think I'm like 99% sure. I have so many accounts that I don't remember the names to them, but Wet Birds Co., I think.
Yeah, I think I found it. I just basically searched the Wet Birds on YouTube. I saw it come up, and that's how I found it. So for all of you guys who may want to catch up on that episode, trust me, that's a good one. You're going to want to go see this one if you're interested. If you're a fan of Mr. Dale, if you're a fan of Kade and you haven't seen it, the guys at Wet Birds, go check out that episode. It's really a good sit-down interview with Mr. Dale Boardlaw. But Kade, hey, this weekend we are Louisiana guys, and we cannot kick off the episode without talking about teal season, which just kicked off here in Louisiana. And honestly, we both got perspective. So we're gonna kind of start tonight by talking about teal season here in Louisiana. Anytime September comes around, we know it's that time of year. And this year, things are a little bit different here in Louisiana because we got our teal season cut in half this year. And we are eliminated down to about 9 days for teal season. So if you are going to make something happen for teal season and get that itch kind of, get it out the way, you got to make it happen fast. So let me ask you this, Kade, how was your opener to teal season this week? Let's start out. What were the expectations kind of going into teal season? And we'll go from there with it.
So expectations, honestly, my expectations personally were through the roof. I had some personal goals I wanted to do, as well as social media goals, and I kind of hit on those, which I didn't even take my gun out the case Saturday morning. But as a group, they were really high. My buddy Damon, he went out Friday, he went scout and he found a few, but they were all on private land. So we were kind of expecting them to leave the private land they were feeding. So we were like, oh, they're going to leave it. They're going to come back in the morning. We'll short stop them in the open hole. We'll adapt to the situation. And unfortunately, they stayed there all night. Like, they didn't leave. We got in the hole. Sun started coming up, and they were buzzing around that private land. And I was like, man. So expectations were high. We didn't really meet those expectations, but we had a good time. We killed a 3-man, so I wasn't too upset about it. And I got some good film, so hopefully I'll be putting that on YouTube soon.
Awesome, man. That's great. And I mean, this area I don't want you to say specifically this particular area you were in, but were we hunting? I'm assuming you were hunting public land, because you said it was bordering up to some leased land is what it is. So, I mean, everybody talks about private land versus public land. Public land, how tough it could be, not only in Louisiana, but all across the flyways. It seems like it's getting really, really, really difficult for a lot of hunters out there nowadays. So anytime you could go out there and you could put together a 3-man, a 2-man, a 1-man, whatever it is, you have really, done something that's pretty tough. And a lot of guys will, try to act like, oh, well, we do it on a regular basis. But look, let's just be honest, Kade, it's not common. It's not real common anymore,
No.
So it sounds like you guys started off with a really good hunt. What did y'all hear overall? What did you find that those birds were holding to for somebody who may be trying to get out there this week, maybe into next weekend as we get ready to wrap up the season? What were the birds kind of looking for?
So where we were at, man, I mean, besides the rice fields, I didn't hear a whole bunch of anything. And it's I'm going to try not to give out too much information, but those birds we found were on like a burnt marsh is what they were on. I don't know what it was about it. I mean, we didn't go walk on it or anything to see kind of what they were holding on to, but I mean, all across the reserve that we hunted, it was very different reports. We had some people come in, 3-4 man of ducks, and you're like, well, we scouted there yesterday because, I mean, you get to talking at the boat ramp, and you're like, man, we scouted there yesterday, didn't see any birds. And I guess, opening morning, gunfire pushing them around, it helped those guys that maybe weren't on where they wanted to be. They were able to be where they wanted to be, type of deal. But, man, it was – I don't know a specific that they were holding on because, we were hunting the marsh. Other people were hunting the open water, and it was a mix of things. And
gotcha.
I found those birds were really skittish. It was almost like trying to hunt them, late teal season instead of opening day.
Really?
It was weird. It was very weird.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. The birds y'all had may not even been birds that were holding to that necessarily to any particular feed or anything. Could have just been, like you said, pressure pushing them around, and moving some of those birds, getting them up and getting them moving around. I was going to ask you, how was the pressure? Because that's something that we ran into over the weekend that obviously not real surprised, I'll be honest with you. But How was the pressure where y'all were?
Man, I don't want to say it wasn't bad. I feel like there was more boats last year. I feel like a lot of people probably struck out kind of almost what we did scouting. Damon got lucky and found those birds by the skin of his teeth. So we were kind of able to put a game plan together for Saturday morning. But, man, the pressure I don't think was really all that bad. I had a couple buddies, that I knew they were hunting the same area. So we kind of stayed in touch, and we were all hunting within 400 or 500 yards of each other. So less boats, but then what happened was those birds that were sitting there, north of us, they didn't have anybody hunting them. So they were just sitting there. So that the good pressure of them not being pressured hurt us trying to pressure them. It was –
yeah.
But it wasn't overly bad. And then we didn't have anybody in the area that we were hunting. So I couldn't really tell you if there was, people being unethical and taking those bad shots or, anything. That's something I
Yeah, no, that sounds like overall y'all had a pretty good experience, because for us, okay, so with our crew, Jackson, my son, who's, he went out Saturday. I had to work Saturday. He went out with two buddies. He scouted the Chaffalot Basin is where they went, and he scouted about a week before, and they found a couple of key areas where some birds were holding to. They saw, I think he told me they estimated between about 30 to 50 birds in a little area that were holding. They kind of sat, they watched birds would get up, and they had birds kind of flying in, a couple here and there. So he knew that they were kind of in an area that for some reason those birds were holding to. And he said, but Dad, you know how it is with teal. He said, we could get there, he said, and, those birds could be gone completely if we get any kind of dip in the temperatures or anything like that. Fortunately, when it came to weather patterns, there really wasn't a big change as far as the weather went, Kade. We didn't really experience no cold fronts or nothing like that coming in to kind of push those birds out. But what he was hunting was a real low water. So the basin right now, the water is extremely low. It's very dangerous right now. But those birds, when he said he got there, I said, are you going Friday, the day before? He says, no, I don't want to go. He says, I don't want to go riding, and mess up anything that we may have some birds sitting in there. As a dad, I kind of felt I was proud of him for that. I was glad he didn't want to go ride around and jump up birds. But he talked to a couple of buddies of his, and he said they had about 10 to 15 boats that were riding around, just kind of jumping up some of the teal in those areas that they had scouted out, and they had they weren't too far from. Let's just say that. And unfortunately, they showed up Saturday morning, and they ended up with one bird. He said, Dad, I didn't see nearly the teal that we saw the week before when we scouted. He said, but we had quite a bit of boats, quite a bit of traffic in the area, even though the water was real low. So they still kind of knocked the rust off. They had a good time with it, Kade. But overall, between their hunt and our hunt, we kind of experienced a lot of the same stuff. I went down to the marshes, basically in southeast Louisiana, and we scouted the week before. I didn't really know if I was even going to go make a teal hunt. I was like, well, nothing, that I have really. I don't have the rice fields like I used to growing up. And me and a buddy, he said, hey, he says, you want to go take a ride out to the marsh? He says, we'll go ride around, look around. I said, yeah, I just wanted to get out of the house. So we went ride this Sunday before, and we found this one little pinch point where we jumped up, I don't know, about 30, 40 teal. And I said, okay, let's shut down the motor. We're going to sit right here. Let's just see what we see maybe moving around in this area. They had feed that we found. which was really good. And we also found some feathers on the water. So that was really good. We saw quite a bit of feathers on the water. Now, when we hunt the marshes, usually we're looking for like these little knockout ponds in the marshes, you know?
Right.
And this little point where we found these birds, it was like a little narrow pinch point. It wasn't but maybe 30 yards wide. And it was kind of headed towards some major waterways, some ponds. And we sat there, we turned the motor off, and they had, you know, like one at a time come in, a couple of pairs, a couple of, you know, maybe 3 or 4 in a group. And they were circling over and they were coming land about 15, 20 yards from us. This was the Sunday before. So they weren't skittish at that point, Kade. And we kind of sat there and I said, okay, I said, they want in on this little point. So I said, well, let's go ride to the ponds that are right here that this little, you know, area leads to. We went in there, we checked it out. We saw a couple of feathers on the water. We jumped up like 1 or 2 of them, but they weren't holding to the big pond. So I told my buddy, I said, hey, look, I said, I think if we come sit in this little pinch point, we should be able to kill some birds maybe next weekend. It's enough to come make a hunt. And he said, yeah, he got kind of fired up when he saw what we saw, you know. It wasn't big numbers, but we were on public land, of course, you know. And he said, yeah, well, if you were down, he says, I'm down. Let's go. Well, I told him, I said, through the week, we were kind of excited. We knew we couldn't hunt Saturday. And I said, the only thing is if Sunday we get there and they shot all day Saturday, it might blow those birds if they hold into that area still out of there. And I said, but the good thing is this little pinch point that they're in, I said, I don't think nobody's going to want to set up right there because it's not your typical area. It's not, you know, a big pond to hunt or nothing like that, or a small pond even. And I said, I think we'd be okay. Well, lo and behold, we get there Sunday morning and we're riding, we're getting to our spot. And when we get to the spot, like where we're pulling up on, a light comes on, okay? And I'm like, okay. I said, well, they might be in that pond. Well, you don't think these guys were sitting exactly in that little pinch point where we were going to plan it to be? We had our waypoint there. And I kind of looked at him and I laughed. I said, man, what's the chances of that? You know, not being in a pond, they in that little pinch point. So we pulled up and we talked to the guys, some young guys, and they already had their spread out, everything. It was right after 4 o'clock. So they probably had got there pretty early, you know. And I said, man, I didn't think nobody'd be in this little spot, you know, right here. I thought y'all would be more in the ponds. He started laughing. He said, no, sir. He said, we saw some birds here. So hats off to those guys because those young fellas had they had to have scouted to set up in that little particular spot where they were in that little area because it wasn't your average looking spot, you know. So we kind of had to push out at that point. And what happened to us, Kade, is we ended up having them behind us. We were in the pond that we were talking about, the bigger pond. And then before we knew it, they had a group on the right side of us in another pond not too far, a group on the left side of us, and we had a group in the front of us.
Cool.
And we watched all morning long. I'm telling you, I made a little quick post about this yesterday. I said people really need to learn to identify what they're shooting at because we watched several wood ducks get pounded. We watched several whistlers get pounded. We had some mottled ducks that we know that they shot, you know. And unfortunately, that's just something that you have to deal with when you're on public or you know, that you're going to run into. But we had a lot of pressure where we were. Yeah. That's kind of the point of the whole story. A lot of pressure. Less teal. Obviously, the teal that were there with all that pressure, the shooting and everything going on, you didn't really have an opportunity for birds to work in, you know. And we had what was funny, we had wood ducks and stuff kind of coming in early on. But once they started shooting at everything that was flying, it really died down in a hurry. So, you know, what you're going to do, it's public land, and that's kind of what you run into, unfortunately. But, you know, the good news is that they had some really good reports from southeast or southwest Louisiana, which we typically know that's going to be the case during teal season. That's where all our ag fields are. And then you had guys in the coastal marshes that had some success, but it was really kind of a mix report across the state from what it looked like, you know. It was either like a feast or famine type situation is what I saw. What did you hear across the state? Because you talked to a lot of people.
Man. So I got a buddy, and through TikTok, man, I know God knows how many people. So I try to answer everybody. I try to get, you know, I have a thing about being friends with everybody, and it's not like I'm tight knit with people, but I like talking to people. So, you know, I got a bunch of guys that I talk to around my age that I have on Snapchat. So one of them went hunt up in central Louisiana, and it's not the place you're thinking about. But he said, man, he got in the place and it was nothing but boats. He said he went scouting, saw a few birds, you know, the week before, kind of like you guys. And he said, same thing as Jackson, you know, found the ducks and, you know, next day, opening day, whatever, he wasn't there. He said they got one opening morning. He said, I'm never going back there for teal season again. But talked to a buddy that hunted in Pecan Island. He opening morning, they have a lease. So that helped him out a lot. But opening morning, I think they killed a 3 or 4 man. Yesterday, they ended up with 9. And then this morning, he went to gate on one of his buddies to the rice fields, and they killed a 4 man and made it to class at 8. So
that's awesome.
They went from gate on to Lafayette.
Yeah, hell yeah. We used to do it like that. I mean, if they there and they can hunt, why not go get them before school? I actually just posted something about that this week, kind of how we did it when we were in high school, and that's they still doing it that way, you know, in that area. That's a lot of my where you grew up, Opelousas, Louisiana. I grew up Ville Platte, Louisiana. A lot of the guys that was common for us to be able to hit the ag fields and then go to school. You know, that was good times, man. So it sounds like it was kind of like mixed in across the board pressure. You know, look, we all know pressure is going to play a part. We know that going in. Honestly, I haven't really hunted real hard for teal season over the last couple of seasons. I was kind of surprised somewhat by the pressure, because if it was big duck season, Kade, I'd have been like, hey, I expect it all day long. Yeah. With teal season, I was kind of like, well, you know, you don't know, it's hot, you know, mosquitoes. Some of the guys don't want to put up with that. They don't really have nothing to go off of, you know, as far as birds to go off of. So I was kind of like, well, who knows? You know, when we scouted, we didn't see a single boat that day last Sunday, the previous Sunday scout that we saw, you know? Right. So I was like, well, I don't know what to expect. But just like it would be for big duck season, I think guys are just fired up. They're ready to get going. And guys that are truly love to duck hunt, they're going to be out there. That's just the way it 100%. Is. You know, that's the way it is. So,
dude, I was getting hyped up all week. I was like, man, I'm ready. I didn't even know if we had birds where we were going or planning on going, you know, and we kind of put all of our marbles into one basket and said, you know what, we could go scout this place. If there's no ducks, we're going to go hunt it anyway. And, man, my buddy sent me a video of some birds Friday afternoon. And when I tell you that lit a fire under me, but it was just, I don't know. I don't know what made them want to hold on to that marsh so bad, but because you were on decks.
You were on the spot.
We were 200 yards away from the spot. And we were expecting them to come out from the roofs and, you know, fly right over us. But then even like, you know, we do catch a couple birds that we can traffic. We had to convince them. It wasn't like a normal teal where they see your spinners and, you know, they come and at least check it out. They might give you one pass, you know.
Yeah.
We had a couple of them, man. They were working, you know, making passes and doing circles almost like a pintail, like just starting off kind of high and then they working all the way down. I'm like, man, but that was every one of them. There was none that came right in. We had a few that were flying right over the marsh, but for the most part, they were flying higher than normal, and we had to fight for them to get in. So
yeah, they weren't just doing normal teal stuff like you said. No. Just see the decoys come to the decoys. Y'all are literally having to work them in.
Right. No, I mean we had, I think in both hunts we had maybe 5 teal surprise us, and normally we get 5 teal a hunt that surprise us, and then the rest of them we kind of see them coming over the marsh. But we were watching them all kind of flying high, and then you'd see them break down a little bit, and you're like, okay, well, maybe we got a shot. And you give them a little, you know, and they'll kind of keep coming, and you got to stay on them, because as soon as we'd let off of them, man, they were turning around going. But we were competing with birds, too. It wasn't like we were sitting on, you know, just open water. So that hurt us a lot, too.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, too, you know. So, but, yeah, I mean, overall, it doesn't matter now. It's in the past. Y'all had a pretty good weekend. Great opener, it sounds like. Now, Sunday, did y'all repeat kind of on Sunday, or how was Sunday as compared to Saturday? What you saw?
So, man, Saturday morning kicked our butt. You know, we got out there and made a very unfortunate walk. I hunted with water in my waders all morning. We were walking back, and I told my buddy, I said, I'm never hunting here again, ever. But I told him that last year, too. Last year, we killed a 4 man. I said, I'm never doing that again. I did it the next day. But Saturday night, we all kind of stayed up watching LSU play. You know, we split off, and one of my buddies went to Baton Rouge, and then a couple of guys stayed up watching the game. So Sunday morning, we're not making that walk. Well, I mean, we know there's birds in the area, but I'd rather not put extra pressure on that area. Let them kind of disperse and find it.
Yeah.
And keep it in our back pocket. But Sunday morning, we went and we hunted some open water. Just kind of tucked up into a bank, and we saw same story. Saw a bunch of birds high. Saw, we played the wind correctly. The wind switched up on us, so it messed us up bad. We had set up planning on a southeast wind, and it switched coming straight out the north. We had like a little rainstorm coming.
Okay.
But, we ended up with 4. So, I mean, I wasn't mad at it, man. Any day you go out and harvest more than one bird, or any day you go out, especially to me, I do it. I'd walk through the marsh 400 or 500 yards to not see a duck. I have fun.
Yeah, me too.
But same thing, man. Like, we had a couple birds coming down the pipe. I'm talking flying low, like they're going to do it. Like, I had the camera up, recording, everything. And next thing you know, they just split off. And it's like, I don't understand it, because it wasn't like they were flaring, like they weren't getting up out in a hurry. They just kind of did their own thing. It was like trying to, I guess, best way to put it is a wood duck when they know where they want to be is like they're gonna go where they want it to go type deal. But they had some guys kind of across from us, hunting the same open water, but they were sitting on a different bank and had the wind set up pretty good, and they did all right. I think they killed 15-ish.
Yeah, so that's good.
They did pretty darn good.
Yeah, that's a good hunt, man. That's a good hunt. You say wood ducks. You know what shocked me, Kade, over the weekend? Like where we were on Sunday, we made that one hunt on Sunday that I made. And, dude, in the marsh. Okay, so like where we hunt, they have timber not too far. Not too far. And I say that a couple of miles. Let's say that. And then we're in the literal marsh. Like you're talking about salt water, brackish water, mixture, cattails. You expected not to see a wood duck.
Right.
And what's crazy is I had my 11-year-old with me, and I was like, okay, maybe, man, if I can get him a teal to land right at daylight, shoot his first duck, that'd be perfect. Well, we have wood ducks piling into this pond that we in the marsh. And I'm talking like at one time we had 12 in the spread. 12 wood ducks in the spread that are 15, 20 yards in front of us. In the marsh, the middle of the marsh, you wouldn't expect to see a wood duck at all. And we had wood ducks all morning long just working into this pond we were in. So what I figured, I was like, okay, they coming from the timber. They noted there's feed in these ponds. They come and feed in these ponds because they were eating the whole time. We had a lot of good vegetation in there. And they sitting there just like machine guns, pecking in the water, going at it, eating. And then after a little while, they would get up and just fly away, go back to where I guess they came from. So they were leaving the timber, coming to the marsh, feeding in the marsh, more wood ducks than I ever seen in my life in the marsh. And I've been hunting a long time. In that hole, and what's funny is my son's sitting there and he's like, Dad, I can't shoot. I'm like, you can't shoot, son. I was like, you can't shoot. And dude, I'm talking like some big, beautiful Kade, some big, beautiful Drake wood is sitting. He could have easily shot. They sitting there for like 15, 20 minutes in front of us. But I was shocked to see that many wood ducks in the marsh, man, this weekend. That was kind of odd, but it was pretty cool to see. So I thought that. A lot of squealers? We saw a good bit of squealers. Man, you see a good bit of squealers everywhere you go now. They in neighborhood ponds. They need to make it where we can hunt them during teal season.
I've heard some news that we might get it next year. I'm not going to confirm or deny it, but I've heard
I heard it too.
People that we may possibly get a season, and man, I hope so, because I've never gotten one. I had a couple opportunities, but it would have been some bad shots. But
it's
a
cool duck. It's a cool duck. It's interesting. We've eaten them as table fare, and they're really, really good. You don't get a lot of meat off. Well, depending on how you cook them. If you expect to breast them, Kade, you're not going to get a lot of meat off of them like you would a normal duck, But if you do take the legs, make them almost like a turkey leg or a chicken leg, something like that, they're really good that way. I had some guys that prepared them that knew how to cook them really well, and it's one of the best eating ducks that I probably ever tried.
I've heard that.
It's good.
It's really good. But
it is good. It's a real tame meat. It's almost, almost like a tame duck type meat, the taste to it, and it's not quite as dark as your normal duck,
okay.
But yeah, I mean, they need to just go ahead and do this, because I didn't expect them to do it this year, because they went with the legislation, to try to get it passed through this year.
Right.
And I said it's probably, if they do it, it's not going to be this season. But I was kind of hoping, like you said, next year we could kind of maybe get the ball rolling on this and start moving, because honestly, they're taking over. If you look at all the data, and I know you're a big data guy, they're taking over the habitat as far as the nesting boxes. They're starting to, kind of dominate, because they're everywhere now. There's so many of them now,
I mean, we go down the road. So north of me, I got Thistlethwaite. East of me, I got Sherburne. So, I mean, you can't go. I don't know as much in Thistlethwaite. I mean, I don't really get out there unless I'm deer hunting, so I'm not paying attention to ducks. But I know Sherburne's got a few of them.
Oh, yeah. I got a camp there at Sherburne, and we got them more and more every year now. And they'll stay, you used to see them like early in the year, right at the beginning of duck season, and then they would leave for the most part. Yeah. Now we're seeing them like in late December, January, cold weather. If it's not freezing, locked up, they're staying,
Last year when we got that big Arctic blast, I had buddies hunting in the basin. They were shooting. I think a couple of them shot, multiple limits of them in the snow. Holes starting to ice over, and they had piles of squealers. I'm like, man, that's odd.
Yeah, they just staying now, man. They don't leave no more, And I think the more they produce every year, the hatches, they just continue to stay. And you see, and you're right, you do see them in colder weather now more than you ever did, probably. And I know a lot of buddies of mine that they've taken them, and they've got their first bans from those, because they banned a ton of them.
I've heard about that. My buddy actually shot one. The one that was hunting in Pecan Island, they shot one last year. They shot quite a bit of them, but they were on their way back, and he sent us a video. He's like, I was just messing around with the ducks, and look what I found. It had a band on it.
Yep.
Like, man.
Yeah, so get this. I had a friend a few seasons ago at Sherburne. He killed one. It was double banded.
Really?
A squealer. Then he goes back a few days later. He was off during the week. He made a midweek hunt. He killed another one with a band. He killed three. He had 3 bands from 2 ducks in less than a week he killed, and they were all from there. And then that lucky SOB, about a week later, he goes, I was going to hunt a particular hole. He's like, man, I never got to hunt this hole. I said, I tell you what, I said, why don't you go hunt it? Me and Jackson will go over hunt another hole. I said, go for it, man. We've hunted it a bunch of times, He goes in that hole. Here's a flock of blue wings come in. He shoots it. He shoots the one he shoots is banded. I said, God damn it. I said, and now I'm 46 years old. I have never killed I've never got a band on a duck. And I've hunted my whole life with my dad growing up and so on and so forth. I've been with guys that have shot bands. I can't get a band. It's just not in the cards for me, I guess, But
I'm still looking for one myself. I haven't found one, but I want to go. So it may sound unethical, and I don't know if it is or not, but I want to go up, in the Midwest area and go hunt those family groups of geese that are kind of residential for like early goose season and just pick out bands. That's something I want to do. I mean,
that'd be fun.
I've heard people hating on that, but I'm like, man, you chasing. I guess they'd be tame, but they're resident wild birds. I mean, they don't migrate, but they're not tame. You're still chasing them. It's not like you're going to put them in a pen, So I'd want to try that.
And there's guys that do it. I know that all about getting, the bands. And that's something that I've heard guys do. And that's, I mean, whatever floats your boat, hey, go for it, man. If that's what you like to do, and that's one of them things you want to do, then go for it. I ain't hating on somebody for that, because somebody's going to hunt them no matter what at some point, It's the way I look at it. But yeah, no, that's there. Those whistling ducks, though, that's definitely something that we talked about in previous episodes. I think everybody's kind of ready to get the ball rolling. But I did hear something kind of like you did, where I think maybe we might see that pretty soon coming up in the next couple of seasons, possibly, Yeah. So, well, I want to pick your brain, man. Get a little bit into kind of like how you got into waterfowl hunting, because from what I heard, your story, you haven't always waterfowl hunted. No. So now for you to be such a big advocate for waterfowl hunting, people coming to the sport, educating people, I want to hear your story. What was your upbringing, as far as getting into hunting and kind of where that took you and how you got into waterfowl hunting, man?
So, we hunted deer. I mean, I think I was 2 or 3 years old the first time my dad brought me deer hunting. And then, 5 or 6, I went on my first duck hunt, just kind of sitting in the blind with him. And he had a blind in Pecan Island before I was born. But after I was born, he got out of it, more family time, I guess. I don't have kids, so I wouldn't know how that transition goes from no kids and hunting to kids and hunting. But
it's a big transition.
Yeah.
But you got time.
He got out of that and then got a lease for deer hunting because, I mean, him and my grandpa loved doing it all. And then my mom's dad, my grandpa on that side, he was a big duck hunter. They hunted Wax Lake a lot in the 80s and 90s. But I didn't hunt with them a whole bunch. They crawfish the basin, so they were always running. But I guess I was about 12, 13. My dad got out of the lease in Forest Hills deer hunting, and a lot of good memories went with it. That's where I met Damon. That's where we grew up together there. But hunted, I guess, since before I could walk, and then I guess not long after that, I started kind of focusing more on the waterfowl because it was easily accessible for me. All my friends did it. My uncle, that's what he likes to do, and then it was just a lot easier around the house for me. I mean, I didn't know. Yeah. I was used to sitting over a feeder waiting for a deer to walk out and not going walk through the woods. And I even posted a video about that, talking about, somebody give me some pointers because I'm not the most effective when it comes to scouting for deer, but I do enjoy it. But
yeah, definitely.
No, man, when I turned 16, I really started public land duck hunting. I'd go once or twice a year with buddies and, on their private land, or even with my uncle. But he brought me on a teal hunt not long before our teal season the year I turned 16, and we shot a 4-man. And when I tell you it was on fire, we left gate on. We were back in Broussard and finished cleaning birds for 10:30.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that'll get you hooked quick.
Oh, man. I text him every year. I'm like, man, I can't believe you did this to me. I'm broke as hell, and I can't do nothing about it. You can't stop.
That's right. I mean, that's right.
And then when I really started kind of venturing out on my own, because my first year hunting hard, I hunted thistleweight and just chase woodies. It was close to the house, is the thing I knew how to do the most. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to play it safe, do what I want to, do what I enjoy. And then kind of started venturing out from there. But then I went hunt kind of up north and noticed, I was like, man, these dudes, I'm watching these dudes take shots I wouldn't in my life dream of taking. And I'm not judging anybody because I've taken, I'm sure we've all taken some shots. We're like, man, I should have done that.
Absolutely.
But, I started seeing that, and then I started kind of, just branching out, talking to people like, man, how can I better myself and then do better for other people, because getting in, man, I ruined a couple guys' hunts, and I felt horrible because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have that public land teacher, that some people have.
Yeah, definitely.
And, man, I definitely screwed up some guys' hunt. So if you're watching this and I screwed up your hunt, I apologize, man. I'm sorry, but
we've all done it, Kade. Don't worry about it. We've all done. Hey, you don't know until you make the mistakes.
Exactly. But I was like, man, I see a lot of guys talking about wanting to get into it. Hopefully they have the same values as me, and that's really why I started posting on TikTok. I mean, I was like, if I can learn something and I can talk about it, and somebody can learn from me, that saves everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I had somebody get mad last year that I was talking about duck hunting. You bringing people to the sport. And I was like, we need people. We need guys that are good for the sport to be in it, advocating for the right thing. So that's really what got me into the social media side. But there's just something about the outdoors that I can't explain about it, man. I'm sure you know it.
Yeah.
You won't get out of it until you die. And it's just one of them things.
You're right. You're 100% right. And I say that, and there's something different, though. With duck hunting, with waterfowl, guys, we're different. We just are. Whether it's good or whether it's bad. Whether you're on the good side or the bad side, I say that. We have to be a little bit different. And me, I grew up very similar to you, except maybe I did probably a little bit more waterfowl hunting early through the years with my dad. But he was the opposite. He wasn't a big deer hunter. But we squirrel hunted a lot. We duck hunted a lot, and that's what we did. But what is it about waterfowl hunting, Kade, that's just hooks
Man,
people? What is it? What, in your opinion? Because I like to ask that question. What is it that attracts guys and hooks them on waterfowl hunting?
so for me, it's kind of a multitude of things. I don't know about you, but I'm not a big solo hunt guy for safety reasons, and I just like going, sit in the blind with buddies or boat rides with buddies. It's just got everything for you, But that it's I don't know, man. You get like a peace of mind in the fast pace of it. Kind of everything quiets down, but you're still going fast. You're still moving around a lot. What else? I'm losing track, but
No,
I
mean,
really those two things, and then the fast pace. I mean, even on a slow morning, you still get those heart pounding moments. Like, oh, there's a big group, even though they're far. You're like, oh man, at least I got to see a bird. Yeah. But that's really what draws me to it is, and then I like watching the ducks too. Like Saturday morning, we might have not done what we thought we were gonna do, but we were watching those birds. We could hear them cutting the air, diving into that hole. They were 150 yards up. They were high, and we could hear them. And they were 300 yards away from us. So it's like just all of that kind of, mushed together is what really keeps me waterfowl hunting.
Yeah. And I think exactly what you said is what a lot of people that never had the experience, they get into it, they go once or twice, and they have a good experience, they have a good hunt, or they see something, like you said, all those different factors they see kind of just intrigues them. Because it's something that waterfowl hunters are just different. They are. And there's guys that I know that were serious deer hunters, and then they started duck hunting and went on a couple of good hunts. Next thing I knew, they were duck hunting, 9 days out of 10, and deer hunting maybe once if they were lucky. So it's just something that's different. It's a lot of factors, like you said. That's a perfect way to put it that you said it. But it's something that's just a totally different, atmosphere, and I think people are attracted. I think a huge part of it is something else you touched on, is that it's the camaraderie between. You could go with your buddies. You're not sitting in a deer stand where you can't piss, you can't eat, you can't fart, you can't shit, you can't. You know what I'm saying there. You got to be quiet. You could go with your buddies. You could talk shit. You could have a good time. Man. You could eat a little Debbie Christmas tree cake. You could drink some coffee. And everybody can have a good time, And I think that aspect of it, the social aspect of it, has always been one of the main things, And a lot of people say that, they're attracted to it. And then when you see the beauty of the birds themselves, like I was watching the other night. I watch YouTube constantly. That's what I watch for TV now, besides sports, And we were watching a teal video, getting ready for teal season, but it was green wing teals we were watching. And they banked off on the screen, and I looked at my wife, and she's like, "You insane?" She's like, I said, "How do they know to all turn at the same time?" I said, "How do 40 of them that are in a ball know at the exact same second to bank left or bank right?" I said, "That still at my age amazes me,
Oh, it's crazy.
She's like, "You an idiot." She's like, "You an idiot." She's like, "That's Mother Nature." But I said, yeah, it's Mother Nature, but it's amazing to see it. I said, and then you're watching on TV. When you're out there and you actually see it, it's completely different. It's even more accelerating, to that juice just hits you, and it's like, it just gets you going, man.
Oh, it's something about it. And then another thing for me is, I got buddies that they've hunted longer than me, and they've had, I guess, more good hunts than me, if that makes sense. They've had a lot of better hunts in their lifetime, but we go and sorry, my mom opened my door.
No, that's okay. That's
okay. We went, so my buddy moved to Monroe, and I might get on a little tangent here, but we went up north, and we kind of met halfway hunting, and he texted me during the week, "Man, you mind if my buddy comes with me? He's just getting into it. He's an older guy, but he wants to duck hunt. He came with us a few times. Been on a few good field hunts, but he wants to see what public land's about." And I was like, "Bring him, dude." I was like, "Whatever he wants to do." And I was like, "You got it," pretty much. He hadn't really harvested too many different species. They were shooting a lot of green wings that year, so that's really what he had shot a lot of. And where we were going, I was like, "Man, if we get a group of pintails," I was like, "Y'all get first shot," because neither one of them had killed a sprig, and I killed my first one like 2 days before. So we worked 200 pintails that morning.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
we had them working and we'd break them down, but kind of same thing as Saturday morning. We weren't on the X, and the birds that were on the X were pretty close enough to us to have some pulling power.
Yeah.
And they'd get down to about, that last pass where it's like, do we do it? Do we not? And we let them go. But my buddy, after the hunt, he texted me. He's like, dude, we got to do this again. And I was like,
yeah, hell yeah.
I was like, bro, you let me know. I was like, I love hunting with y'all. I mean, and then he shot his first canvas bag with me this year, so that was awesome. Him and my grandpa, or him and Matthew, both got their first ones on a hunt with me, and then I took my grandpa out New Year's Day, and he got his first one, so that was awesome.
That's cool, man. That's what it's about, dude.
It does it for me too. It's like getting those experiences for other people. Like, I already experienced it, and I love experiencing like all the different things, but if somebody's like, hey man, I want to do this with you, I'm like, dude, come on. Like, I hardly ever turn somebody down that I know personally. Now, strangers is a little bit different, but if I know you personally and you text me, hey man, let's go try this, or I haven't gotten this duck, let's go try to get one. I'm like, I'm down for it, dude. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's awesome, man. That's how we grow the sport. That's what we have to do. Every year I make it a point, Kade, to where I take somebody who hasn't maybe hunted, that, like you said, is kind of interested,
right,
and says, man, yeah, I kind of always wanted to duck hunt. I didn't have access to it. Or it'll be a kid, one of Jackson's buddies coming up now. I got my youngest son. He's starting to come. And I try to make a point to take at least one or two people every year that never had the opportunity to go. And almost every one of those people that we take, they continue. They still hunt right now,
Yeah.
and they got full throttle into it now, and they love it, So, but you brought up something with that a while ago with social media that was interesting, and that I've dealt with quite a bit. And you said something about somebody got on you because you said you're just bringing more people, and you're making it more crowded and this and that. Let's kind of, as we get now, we're getting a little closer to an hour. Let's talk a little bit about social media, because that is something, even though you say, well, I didn't have a ton of experience waterfowl hunting coming up, and I got into it several years ago. You do have a lot of experience with social media and the whole culture that we're in now when it comes to waterfowl and just outdoors in general. I want you to talk a little bit about your take. What's your take on the whole social media with the whole outdoors culture, kind of what you're seeing, and maybe talk about some stories that you've had personally, good and bad.
So as far as bringing people in, I think a lot of people are seeing, like, I've got a couple guys that I know that they watch social media. They like, man, we're going to smash them. And then they don't smash them. It's like, well, that was a bad hunt. Well, what do you mean a bad hunt? Like, Sunday morning, a lot of people would have considered 4 birds a bad hunt, but hey, we got 4 ducks on public land in South Louisiana. I'm not mad at it. I will say that if I go out and I'll harvest 2 or 3 ducks a person, if not, 1 to 2 ducks a person, I'm content, man. I'm not going to say we smashed them, but I'll be honest with you, be like, that's not a bad hunt. But I think that's where a lot of people get inflated and that ego starts playing. And you see a lot of that too. You see a lot of ego wanting to play. And it's like, man, we're all duck hunters. We're all trying to do the same thing. Let's like, I don't want to say uplift one another without sounding cliche, but at least be positive. Unless you see something negative going on, don't be negative toward them, because, hey, maybe that guy's new. It's a teaching moment for the first time. After that, you see a bunch of ignorance. Then I'll start. I get a little bit aggravated with that. But then
let me ask you this: you think ego in waterfowl in a waterfowl hunt society now is worse than any other outdoor activity as far as deer hunting, fishing? Because bass fishing, I was into tournament bass fishing for a long time, Kade, and that was kind of something at the time that was talked about. You saw that quite a bit. You think waterfowl hunting is up there now with that type of stuff?
1,000%. You got the term trash duck thrown around, stuff like that. It's like that ego wants to play. And don't get me wrong, I post my ducks. I love my ducks, but I'm also gonna, behind the scenes, I'm cooking that duck. I'm cleaning that duck. A lot of guys now are trying to harvest birds just for their ego. They're not going and doing what you're supposed to do with them, and that it's upsetting. But that ego definitely plays, and that's. I mean, you see that a lot now. I mean, shoot, you go on the Louisiana Facebook page, you go scroll down a couple comment sections, and it's like, man, why are these people just like, for what reason?
Yeah.
And that's something I don't understand.
Yeah, I think there's just guys that are shit stirrers. I just think that they're there to get attention. That's what I think.
100%.
Maybe they're not getting enough attention at home from the wife, from the girlfriend. Maybe that's going on, and they have to show it a different way and get it a different way. And they figure that if they go in there, they're going to win a popularity contest because they telling somebody off or they trying to act like they're the baddest ass that's on the floor. Unfortunately, we all deal with that as social media people, that you have to deal with that. And they say, well, you deserve it. You put it out there. You do this and that. And, that's not – I don't think that's what most social media guys that are doing this are doing it for it, Right. I think a lot of them are promoting businesses. That's why they get into the social media aspect of it, which you can't blame them. That's just the world we live in. Right. If you had a plumbing business or they had a electrician business, they would be doing the same thing. They'd be utilizing social media to help their business. So I can't blame those guys. But the guys who say that social media is hurting the sport, what would you say to that? What would your answer be to that, or your opinion on that be?
So it's a double-edged sword. It really is. The same guys that are saying it's hurting social media are the same guys going under videos. If you ever see a video of even just one bird flying, they're under there. I know exactly where this is. It's at da-da-da-da. They're name dropping. They're telling everybody this is where the birds are. And, hey, that's not a bad thing when it's in a tight knit. Like, if I'm hunting with Damon and them, I'll tell Damon and them. And then I got a couple of guys that I know won't go behind my back and hunt a spot. Like if I'm like, hey, man, this is how we did this weekend, just giving reports to each other. We go back and forth and give reports. But,
yeah,
I don't think social media is hurting it as much as it is helping it, if that makes sense, because you got a lot of good people coming up.
Yeah, you really do.
Dawson, I don't know if you've seen Dawson Yates. He's a great guy, Southern Illinois guy. He's doing a lot of good for the sport, bringing positivity. Hook and Holler Outdoors, I'm good buddies with him. He's trying to do a lot of good things. People like that there's a
lot of good people that are doing it. Honestly, I think I look, at the end of the day, if anybody's out there doing this, Kade, they don't want to be embarrassed for doing it the wrong way. Let's say that. Right. Nobody's going to gain popularity by being an asshole and putting their name out there, putting their little business out there if it's a business that they're making out of it. So they're not doing it for the wrong reasons, Right. So I think for the most part, there's a lot of great creators. You look at just here in Louisiana alone, there's a ton of great creators that I think that are here that are trying to educate people, whether they're old or young. I think, I think there's people that are trying to shed light on the state in a positive way. It's got to help, tourism. It's got to help people. I hear guys tell me all the time, there's more people coming from out of state down to Venice, Louisiana, down to certain areas throughout the state, rice country to book guides than there ever has been before. Yeah. Well, social media is playing a huge part in that because these people would not know that this stuff is out there without social media being around. Whether it's the guides that are promoting it, whether it's creators that are promoting and highlighting this throughout the state. So that is helping business. That's helping people expose it. That they have places you could come. You could pay. You could have a good experience. You can enjoy the culture. You can enjoy the food. And you can also have some good friends for a lifetime that you meet because there's nobody friendlier than people down south typically. Oh, yeah, man. And that's just the way the southern nature is, So from that aspect of it, it's a great thing for business. Yeah. What I think a lot of people struggle with is that they say, well, like that guy told you, is it's bringing more people out to hunt. Well, my take on that is that they're not stopping because there's no social media. They're coming. Right. They're coming anyway.
No matter what. They're coming no matter what. And
they're coming no matter what.
That was my response.
And that's the truth. They're coming no matter what. If you think that your little WMA is overcrowded because of social media, it's not. It's crowded because there's more people talking. Word of mouth is getting out there. And they're telling their friends because if social media is not there, they're still talking and they're telling their friends, hey, come duck hunt with me, come do this. And then that guy's bringing a friend and then it snowballs. We all know how it kind of works from there. So we're not stopping it, whether there's social media out there or not. And that would be my response to a lot of people when they say that, nowadays with the technology, we've both talked about that on our platforms. Aside from social media, you have every bit of information on public hunting ground at your fingertips on your smartphone. We have mapping, better mapping than you've ever had. People could go in there. They don't even have to scout no more.
Exactly. You e-scout. That's what we did. That's how we found that open water. We didn't go walk in the woods. We didn't put boots on the ground. And should we have? Probably. We would have known that walk would have sucked. But it's like it don't matter what you do. People are still gonna come. And that's what I told that guy. And I was like, I'd rather guys get into it and watch my videos and be like, okay, well, I know not to do this in this situation, or I know to do this in this situation, or hey, I'm riding up on somebody. I'm not gonna go ride past them, during the day, like you leave, and we'll try to work something out. That way I'm not messing up his hunt. Or, man, those ducks were kind of high. Let's try to get them to work. Or let's not hail call at these birds, late in the season. They blind shot, just talking about stuff like that. And it's like, if I had that exact thing, and I'm not saying that I know it all by any means. I'm learning every day. But what helped me might help somebody else and make their hunt better. And if it makes their hunt better, they're not doing quote unquote unethical things or ignorant things because they don't know. That makes my hunt better. So I'm not only improving other people's hunts or trying to improve other people's hunts. I'm trying to better the space, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And that's the same thing that I'm focusing on. I really, the last couple of years, Kade, I've made a big push to focus on education of the sport, because I'm older, man. And that's most people my age, they either out of it by now or they slowed down considerably.
Right.
Unless they have family land, unless they have a lease that they've had in their family for generations. There's not many guys like me out there that are 46 years old at a public land hunting, and going to boat launches and waking up at 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. and doing that type of stuff. It's a really small group of people that I know that's still doing it. That's my age. But I've said, okay, even though, we don't always have those successful hunts, or if we do, even if we do, I'm going to make a point to educate people, because ultimately I think what social media has the potential to do when we bring light to the sport is educate people, like you said. And what it's going to do, there's a silent minority. That's what I always say, the silent minority of people. How many times have you been hit up in DMs from guys that have watched your content that tell you, hey, I'm just getting into this and I can't go to social media publicly because I feel like maybe we get criticized, or people want to jump and make fun of us, and ask a question for asking a question. So they'll come to platforms like yours, or they'll come to platforms like mine, or these other content creators out there that are focusing on teaching the right way to do it. They'll go there and they'll ask questions. So what I think is happening is the silent minority of people that are truly interested in doing this for the right reasons, they're getting educated through social media, whoever they choose to follow, or maybe multiple people that they choose to follow. And overall, down the road, Kade, I think it's going to benefit us more than anything, probably, not hurt us.
I believe it. I believe it, man. I mean, the amount of people, and look, I don't understand why I blew up. I wouldn't even say blew up. I don't understand why I have the traction I have. I'm very thankful for it, by all means. But I've had, 20, 30, maybe 40 people hit me up like, hey, man, love the content. It's my second year duck hunting, third year duck hunting. And, I'm not much far ahead of them as far as years, but I was blessed with the guys that, I talked to you. I mean, we recently got in touch, but, over the years, I've made some good connections with guys that know what they're doing. And I've been doing it a long time. So the public side of things, I'm still kind of fresh, but I was able to learn a lot from those guys. So why not try to help somebody else out? And then a lot of the information I talk about is either personal experience or regurgitated from somebody that isn't on social media, that I heard it and I was like, that needs to be said.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I get those DMs, and only time I won't tell somebody how to do something is when they ask for a spot. That's one thing. I'm not going to name drop a WMA. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I wish I could help you. What I tell them is go download OnX.
That's right.
Go download an app. It shows you all the public lands. I said, and then from there, go walk around. I advise you to go, one thing that I messed up early on was not knowing the landscape in the daylight. I didn't go walk around. I just e-scouted. And guess what? It bit me in the butt a few times.
Yeah.
It took 3 or 4 times on my hard head to realize that, maybe I need to go put boots on the ground before I start walking during the night,
Yeah. Yeah. I tell people all the time, Kade, I say, look, e-scouting is where you want to start, but that's not where you want to finish.
Exactly.
You want to start e-scouting because why not use the technology? Exactly. But you ultimately want to put boots on the ground, Now, look, in a situation like a teal hunt y'all made, you kind of going into teal season saying, hey, I'm going to make 1 or 2 hunts probably.
Right.
So you could take a gamble. You could e-scout. You could go out there, try it. Hey, you get lucky like y'all did and you kill some birds. Great. You don't, hey, great. You learned, you got out there, kind of knocked the rust off. But big duck season, it's a little different. If you want to be consistent, you got to kind of try to stay on some birds on public land. You're going to probably have to put feet on the ground at some point, and do a little bit of scouting, kind of know those surroundings, And that's what I tell people. I say, start with the e-scouting and then kind of go from there. Go out physically, look at the terrain, because what we look at on online mapping changes year to year, and nothing stays the same. So, that would be what I would tell somebody in that situation, And
then I've had some guys, actually today, somebody texted me. He's like, hey man, what do you do when you see another group while you hunting? Like you go into the hole and they beat you there. And I was like, having a plan A, which is that hole that's sat in, have a plan B, a plan C, and a plan D. You want to have 4 plans, because guess what? A, you get to A, it's sat in. You get to B, it's probably going to be sat in too if it's had birds on it. You get to C, you throw in a prayer in the wind, and you're like, okay, well, maybe we'll make it. And if that one's in there, you got D, you're not completely striking out and having to go sit down to bayou. I've done that before too.
Correct.
Get to a hole, I'm like, oh man, we found a few birds, or we hunted the hole and kind of didn't play the wind right or didn't do something right, and we game plan for the next morning. And we get there the next morning, somebody slept in the hole, and it's like, man, struck out. We were putting all our money on that number to win, and it didn't.
Yep.
And, you turn around and you hunting a bayou trying to pass you woodies,
Yeah, absolutely. Just to make it worth the while.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been burnt too many times to count on that, especially around the house when I'm trying to go, make a hunt before church or something. I'm like, oh man, I got a wood duck hunt again. And it's not like I'm complaining, but I saw what was in that hole. I wanted to be there, Yeah.
No, you're 100% right on that. And that's a great game plan to have. And anybody who's new to the sport that's listening to this, then Kade brings up a really good point. Never go with option A, just have one option if you hunt public. Not even B, not even C, probably. Like he said, 4 options. Get familiar. That's where you kind of figure out from the scouting, aspect of it. Have a couple of backup plans, before you go out there. Well, Kade, I want to ask you a couple of hot point questions. This is some stuff that hot topics typically on public land. Public land, you pull up to an area, blinds built. You hunt a blind that's built. Do you not hunt a blind that's built? That if you the first person there, what's your thoughts? Because a lot of guys every year that's a topic that comes up.
It depends. So recently, I've been big on talking to people at the launch. Getting an idea where people are hunting, or maybe somebody's like, "Oh, I'm hunting that blind over there. We built it yesterday." Then I'm gonna steer clear. But a couple years ago, we had a blind that we found, and there was birds on it. That was that same morning my buddy came down from Monroe. And we hunted that blind. Nobody came to kick us out. But then a couple of days later, I'm not joking, we pulling the blind opening's right here. We pulling in here. Old boy's pulling in here. And he's got bamboo and stuff to build his blind. He's like, man, I built the blind. Y'all were here first. So y'all got it. I was like, no, dude. I was like, if you built the blind, I see you got the bamboo to brush it up. I say, y'all take it. I said, I'm not. And he had his little boy with him, and it looked like his dad or something, an older man.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, y'all take it. I'm not here to mess up anybody's hunt. I said, if y'all limit out, I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna go jump in it after y'all leave, but
yeah,
we'll move down a good little ways and give each other some space. But all in all, if there's a blind on public land and I'm there, early, and I sit in it, nobody comes, I'm gonna hunt it. If somebody comes up and they rude about it, we might have some words. But if they roll up on us and they're like, hey man, we built this blind at the beginning of the season, we've been hunting it, I'd ask them if it was all right for us to hunt it and them jump in with us, or be like, look, I'm sorry. I mean, first come, first serve type deal. I don't want to be rude, but
yeah.
I mean, if I scouted it and found it, and same thing with me, man. If I roll up to a blind and somebody's in it, plan A didn't work,
Yeah. The reason I'm asking that, I had a conversation with an old timer, like that hunted the Chaffalot Basin for all his life, and we were talking. He found my content recently, and he showed up. He actually works for us part time. He's like, I didn't know you had a YouTube channel. I'm talking coon ass from down to Bayou, and just a good old guy. I love him to death.
Right.
And he said, man, he says, I'm watching all your stuff. And he said, you kind of got me fired up to get into duck hunting again. And I said, well, you used to hunt? And he's like, yeah. So we started talking about that. And he saw one of my videos where that was the topic that we talked about, briefly. And he said, back in the day, he says, that was a deal where if somebody built a blind, you didn't hunt it at all, if you pulled up to it and this and that. And I said, I get it. I said, nowadays the problem is you might pull up to an area like let's say Henderson, where we're all familiar with in the basin, and you might have 50 blinds in one general area, I said, so it's not like, oh, you just secluded and you got your blind built. Everybody has a blind built, and they kind of add to it as the season goes on. Kind of everybody contributes building it up a little bit, And I said, I understand both sides of the fence on it,
Yeah, 100%.
And the way I taught Jackson is I said, hey, you get there. I said, don't throw out a decoy, not a decoy. He's a guy that gets there. I told him, get there early, set up, and put your boat in the hole. That's where you establish it. In that situation, don't throw out a single decoy. If somebody approaches you, have a conversation with them. Try to have a civil conversation with them. And if you can work it out, at that point, throw out decoys, and then you make the hunt. Because on the flip side of the coin, the person who builds that blind, and I've done this myself. I've built blinds, like brush blinds, whether it's been in the marsh or been in the timber, or lake or whatever it is. And I build that knowing that there's a possibility that I can't hunt my own blind if somebody gets there legally, and I go in with that mindset, the way I try to do it, but so there's two sides to that argument all the time, but I was curious. I wanted to know your take on it. I know when I explained it to him, he was kind of like, okay, I understand that, he says, because when we would do it, we were kind of by ourselves, and and I said, hey, I understand that you kind of secluded, but these areas now, there's a lot of people building, or in those areas hunting. So that I was curious to know your take on it and just kind of get your opinion on it. Another one I wanted to ask you, a big hot topic, water swat ducks. What's your thoughts on that for people listening out there?
Dude, if that duck sits on the water and gives me the easiest shot to take, I'm taking it. Even if I didn't work that bird down, he just dove in the spread.
Hell yeah, that ain't your fault.
Bro. I'm ready.
Hey, you know what? I don't know if you got this. Have you ever got a question from somebody on social media about water swatting that told you that they thought it was illegal, or that in their state it's illegal?
So I didn't have that question, but one of the guys that I went to high school with, he's actually a good buddy of mine, but he brought some people hunting with him one morning, and they had some birds get down on the water. And old boy jumps up out the grass, because they were kind of hunting in the long grass on a rice field levee. And he kind of jumps out of the grass or the tree line, whatever, and jumped him up, and then looked at him like, what are you doing? It's like, you can't water swat. What you mean? It's like, so we picked on the guy that did that for, a few months, but I was like, man, that baffles me that people don't do that. I had somebody call it childish one time.
Oh, I've been called all kind of stuff for it, like in videos.
Childish? Yeah. I'm a child then. I am a child through and through.
Yeah. Hey,
Very
ask
good
Mr.
water
Dale
swats.
Borlaw about water swatting and see
Oh, he
his
loves
answer, what he'll tell you.
He
He'll
loves
tell you, I mean, if you follow Mr. Dale, those of you who follow him, you ever seen his birds when he cleans them, Kade? That's the
He ain't got a
prettiest,
pellet in the breast.
not a pellet in the breast. Headshot, everything. If he can put them on the water, he's putting them on the water. My granddaddy and my dad were the exact same way. When we were kids, that was never even brought up coming up.
Yeah.
You never heard a grown-up say, why'd you water swat that duck on the water, or whatever. That's if they were able to land them on the water, they had done their job. If they called those ducks and got them to touch their asses on the water, and they had no problems. That wasn't even a consideration for them at the time. But I have had several people that they'll see that happen, and they'll hit me up and they'll say, "Oh, I mean, you must be brave to put that on video, breaking the law." And I've responded through the years, and I'm like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "Well, water swatting, that's illegal to water swat ducks." And I'm like, "Not in Louisiana, it isn't. It never has been, and I don't think it ever will be. But some states, apparently, people either it is. I've never really looked that much into it, but it's either. I couldn't imagine it would be illegal, Kate.
No,
I don't know, but I've had people ask me that and hit me up on that before.
That's crazy.
So I was curious. I wanted to know your opinion. I have an idea from listening and watching and following you, but I wanted to ask it and see what you thought. So I have a couple of questions I ask people too. Sometimes I ask Mr. Dale this. I'll ask you these questions. Toilet paper or wet wipes in the blind? What we rolling with?
You're gonna be baffled with his answer. I ain't got neither one in my bag.
Tell me we're not ripping underwear.
Look, I'm a weird guy. If I'm using the bathroom, it's got to be a bad bond. And 9 times out of 10, somebody I'm hunting with got toilet paper or wet wipes. But rarely ever do I use the restroom in the woods. Unless
we're not shitting in the blind. We're not having in nature.
I gotta be in the blind, man. I gotta be in the blind. Look, I like getting home from the hunt, sitting down on the throne, watching, whatever video it is, dive bomb or something like that, and then getting in the shower and then going to take a nap. But
that's what I'm talking about.
If I'm in the blind, I'm either fighting or I'm in a bond using the bathroom. But
I asked Mr. Dale that. He stopped whenever I asked him that. He says, "I've never been asked that before." he got a kick out of that question when I asked him that. But
answer, probably toilet paper. Just that way I'm dry. I hate the wet ass in the water.
We're rolling with the TP.
Makes me feel like I got water in my waders.
Yep. I'm with you on that. What's our favorite snack in the blind? What we rolling with?
You could think I'm weird about this one too. I eat on the way and I don't eat until I get back in the car.
No snacking.
Every now and then it's probably some type of Little Debbie. But
we in Christmas tree season at that time of year.
I love a Christmas tree, but I don't know what it is. I don't eat them anymore. I'm starting to venture away from the Little Debbie kick. But my go-to is either a honey bun, like the ice glazed honey bun, the white glazed honey bun, or some type of Pop-Tart. I'm a big fudge sundae Pop-Tart guy.
Gotcha.
So that's my 2 big ones.
All right, well, sticking with food, who got the best boudin in Louisiana for a duck stop whenever y'all hunting?
Oh, man.
I'm going to put you on the spot on that. That's going to make some people mad and some people happy.
So I got a Billy's 2 minutes down the road from me. Like if I wanted to, I could eat Billy's boudin every day. But I recently started going to Karshner's.
That's my favorite, man.
So I got a buddy at work. We said it 2 different ways, and we went back and forth all day on how to say Karshner's or Karshner's.
Karshner's or Karshner's.
But no, man, I started getting some of their boudin. Man, it's good. And then
it's good.
Those maple boudin roll-ups. Ooh,
I never tried that. You ever tried the little ribs, the little baby ribs?
Yes. I had some of those. Man.
Them things are good.
Has some good stuff. But then I also hear Best Stop has some good boudin. But we don't have much. I mean, we got one in Scott, but I'm not driving all the way to Scott just for some boudin. I'd have to be in the area.
The one in Scott's the OG, I think. If I'm not mistaken, that's the OG. So like we'll hunt. We'll go down to Hackberry and those areas. And actually, this is duck related, and I've never told nobody this, but we hunt with. Every now and then we'll go on a hunt with Mr. Warren, and I'm friends with Lance Coco. Lance, his son, and our sons are friends. And Mr. Warren, when we go to Hackberry to their camp, he makes us stop at Best Stop to buy a hamburger for him because he says they got the best hamburger anywhere around on that stop. So he swears the hamburger. I've never eaten it,
really?
But he makes us stop when he knows Lance always wants to go and pick up some of the specialty meats that they got there. But Warren, when he knows we going, Mr. Warren always has us pick up their hamburger. He swears by it. Jackson swears they got the best biscuit in the morning over there that he's ever eaten. I don't know. I didn't try it, but he says it's the best biscuit. Like if we roll it through there, he says, "Dad, we going to Best Stop and we getting a biscuit." So he likes the biscuits from Best Stop. But I'm with you on the Carsoners. I'm a fan. Us having a camp in Whiskey Bay, we could drive to Krotz Springs in no time, and we'll go to Carsoners, and everybody seems to kind of like that one. But the boudin question is always something I get. Well, who got the best boudin, during the season to stop at? So that's why I wanted to ask you on that one. But another question. We coffee or we energy drinks during the season? Which one we roll with?
Energy drinks. I don't drink coffee.
What's the drink you like?
My drink of choice is either cherry limeade rain or a sour gummy worm rain. That
must be a young guy thing, all these energy drinks. We old school. Us old guys, we drinking like black coffee. Like if we put cream in our coffee, then yeah, it is a laxative. You're right about that.
That's why I don't need toilet paper.
Yeah, I guess the energy drinks don't have the same effect. But yeah, we like I'll get picked on. Like some of them old guys, they'll pick on us if we put cream in our damn coffee. They're like, "Oh, damn pussy," It's like God, what? Come on, man. But a lot of the younger guys that I hunt with, like Jackson and all them, they love it. The energy, and his mom's on his butt, like, don't drink all this damn energy drinks.
So, my thing with the energy drinks is I try to keep it one a day. I mean, every now and then, but with the rains, they high in caffeine, I mean.
Yeah.
And that was a problem for me was I was drinking, 2, 3 sometimes, and it didn't have any effects on me, but I know long-term it will, So if I drink an energy drink in the morning, I usually don't have any caffeine. I mean, maybe a Diet Dr. Pepper or 2 during the day, but it's nothing crazy. Now, during the season, if I know, I'm like, okay, well, I got this in the afternoon, I'll pick up a White Monster. That way I'm still not, high in caffeine count. And then later in the day, I'll get, maybe another one or a rain or something. That way I'm not overdoing it. And that's one thing a lot of guys got to start watching out for, because I know some people that hammer them, and it's like, dude, you're going to die,
Yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah, they own them pretty heavy. I hear you, man. What else I wanted to ask you? Damn, it was on the tip of my tongue, and I said, I want to ask him this, and I'm going blank on it. Damn it, I should know. You can tell I don't write this down. Obviously, I'm going off the cuff, but it was the food I wanted to ask you, the boudin, and then there was something else I wanted to ask you. People ask, they might be interested, like, what's your setup for duck season? What brand of gun you shoot? What's your favorite setup as far as shells and gun combination? I wanted to ask you about that.
When I first started duck hunting, my mom's dad passed away probably a couple years before, and I got his old Ithaca 12 gauge. Only shot 2 3/4, so my go-to. I fell in love with Kent's. I don't know what it was about that gun, but it loved Kent's, and that's what I ran 2 3/4 4 shot all season long, and I did good with it. But then when I graduated, my uncle bought me a Franchi Affinity 3 or Franchi Affinity 3.
Great gun, gun.
I went and I got a Pattern Master, and I didn't know much about chokes. I'm not a big gun junkie. I'm not one of those guys that, sits there, and I couldn't tell you much about either of my guns. But I was like, you know what? I want a long range choke. I have a problem with leading birds, and I was like, I want to be able to put it on them, get the BBs out fast, and, went with the Pattern Master. And then I found that it didn't like Kent's.
Yeah.
Kent's shot too fast for it. And like I've had wood ducks on the water, talking blanket them, and the BBs are just moving so fast. It's like shooting a squirrel with steel shot. They get up, fly off, and then 20 minutes later you see them go down or something. But fell in love with heavy hammers. I love those. And then Apex too, man.
I've heard good things about Apex.
I started, and that's out the Franchi. I shot him a couple years ago, and my first canvas back was with an Apex, and I took a shot that's probably a little bit far, but I got excited. I wanted a canvas back, and I don't know, probably 40, 50 yards, and stone dead. And canvas backs are them tough birds. They take a lot.
Yeah,
and look, I'm talking, he hit the water, and that was it.
That was it.
I won an SKB 20 gauge from the Ducks Unlimited banquet last year.
Okay.
That little gun gets it. It gets after it, man.
Yeah, I've never shot one. I've heard some good things about them. I can tell you, just in general, 20 gauge for me changed the game. I went to a 20 gauge. That's pretty much what I shoot for 90% of the time now. Okay, you go to a 20 gauge, you ain't ever going to pick up a 12 again. I'm going to tell you right now.
I'm starting to see that problem because I got a couple boxes of 12 gauge behind me that I probably won't touch. I'm shooting my 20 gauge for teal season, and then
I'm gonna tell you what this is facts. When I went to it, I had friends of mine saying I was crazy. They said you ain't gonna better reach out and touch them like you do. I even went. I was talking about Lance a second ago. We went down to Gaydon a couple of years ago, Kaplan a couple of years ago, and he said we're gonna duck hunt, but he said we're gonna probably have a lot of specs. He said so we're gonna be goose hunting a good bit. Well, I roll up there with a 20 gauge, and he when I pulled it out the gun case, he looked at me. He's like, "What the hell is that?" He said, "You brought a 20 gauge?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "That's all I hunt with now." He's like, "Dude," he was like kind of angry. I could tell with me. He was like, "Dude," he's like, "You ain't gonna be able to knock these geese down with a damn 20 gauge." He said, "We got to reach up there and touch them." Hey, when I tell you, Kade, I made a believer out of him. He ended up going. He bought him a 20 gauge because we were dusting these specs above us. I was shooting with a 20 gauge, folding them, dropping them dead, and he couldn't believe it. And after that, he was like, "All right." He's like, "What kind of shell you shooting?" And I was like, "Man, it kind of had a mixed bag that day I was shooting."
Yeah.
And I tell you, if they tell you you can't reach out there and touch them with a 20 gauge, I promise you can. And I've hunted all across over the marshes. I've hunted timber with it. Once you pick it up, it's hard to put it down. And I'm being honest with you.
Very hard to put it down.
It really is.
The SKBs are really light, so
yeah,
it makes it that much better.
It is. It's lighter. It swings better. You could get back on the follow-up shot quicker than you can with a 12 gauge. It made a huge difference. It made me a better wing shooter, to be honest with you.
100%.
So
I noticed that too.
That's my take on it. But yeah, a lot of my buddies. I have a good friend of mine, my best friend growing up. He's from Ville Platte, and he went this year. He ended up buying like 3 20 gauges for squirrel hunting, for duck hunting, and just another one for kind of keeping his gun cabinet, to show off. But he said, man, it made a believer out of me. I'll be honest with you, So. But anyway, okay, look, hey, I know we've been going at it quite a bit, man. I wanted to thank you again for coming on with us tonight. You have any closing remarks for people that want to find you on social media that may not be familiar with you? Where can they find you? And Wetbirds, where can they find Wetbirds as well?
So I'm on all social media platforms. My Facebook is more personal. I put it on public, but I don't really post. I just share stuff, personal stuff. But that is Kade Bidstrup, just my name. And then Instagram, I think it's biscuit_9 or biscuit9_. And it's not spelled like you think it should be. It's BISKIT. Man, I'm drawing a blank. TikTok is biscuit_9, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember the exact.
No, I'm with you. I forget too. Mine sometimes. I got to think. But if you search Kade or you search Wetbirds online, you're gonna find them.
Or Biscuit on TikTok should pull me up. But I just hit 1,000 followers on Instagram. I'm pretty happy about that.
Awesome, dude! Congratulations, man.
But
that's awesome. Man. Yeah, go check out his content, guys, because he's got some really good stuff for waterfowl hunting, fishing. I know you do a little bit of fishing stuff too in off season, a little bit of outdoors, everything, but mainly for waterfowl content. So go check him out because he got some really good stuff. Kade, look, it's been awesome, man. We're gonna have to try to maybe get together, make a hunt this season, and hook up. We're gonna have to make that happen, dude. But I I want to say thank you for coming on the show with us tonight. Thank you for sharing the knowledge, man. Keep doing what you're doing, brother. You're doing an awesome job. You're doing it the right way, in my opinion. And you really represent big time for the community, for the state, and for the waterfowl hunting community, man. So thank you.
Well, thank y'all for having me, man. It means a lot coming from you. I mean, you're probably one of the most well-known people in Louisiana as far as the waterfowl stuff goes. So, it means a lot. I mean, it means a lot to be on a podcast, and then the kind words. Just a big blessing. So thank you.
You deserve it, brother. Take care of yourself. We'll talk to you, I'm sure, in the coming days, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, buddy.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. Our guest, Mr. Kade Bidstrup. Guys, go check him out. Like I said, his personal accounts is absolutely great if you're looking for information on waterfowl hunting. This guy, what I was attracted to him about as far as bringing him on as a guest is, first of all, if you don't know him already, you need to get to know him because he's really grounded. He is down to earth, and he is trying to progress this sport in the right way, in my opinion. And I'm always attracted to young creators that are trying to progress our sport and our hobby in a positive light and do it the right way, teach the right way to do things. He is as humble as anybody that I've met that's, doing this content creation. And like I said, he takes the time to delve into topics, actually learn what he's talking about before he discusses it on his platforms. And that's something that really stuck out to me. And I said, I have to get to know him because these younger creators, there's a ton of them out there. We've had several on the podcast before. They are the future to carry our sport forward. And us older guys, we're gonna fade out as we continue to get older, maybe. And there's new generations that are coming up behind us that are trying to make a difference. And we need to introduce the community to these people. And Kade is just a prime example of that. So I was very glad when he agreed to come on the show with us tonight. I was excited for you guys to be able to meet him if you didn't already know him. And I hope that you'll go follow him. You'll go follow him on his social media platforms. You'll check out Wetbirds, everything they have to offer as a group of young hunters in our state. And not only for Louisiana, but for everybody up and down the flyways, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this sit down that we had with him tonight. I thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to sit down with us here at Last Stop Waterfowl Outdoors to listen to what we have to say, just a couple of average Joes that enjoy duck hunting and take time to sit here and listen to what we have to say. And hopefully you enjoyed a little bit about what we talked about tonight, guys. If you did, we would appreciate it. If you watch this on our YouTube channel, give us a thumbs up. Maybe share the content with your fellow hunters and friends, and share the information with all of your buddies, hunting buddies this hunting season as we bring you guests right here on the show so that they can enjoy it and they can also share it with their friends. We would appreciate it greatly, guys. Well, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Until next time, my name is Jacob, and this is Last Stop Waterfowl Outdoors Podcast. We'll see y'all again soon in the outdoors, guys. Y'all take care, and good luck if you're heading into the final weekend of teal season this weekend as we get ready to wrap it up. Y'all take care, guys. We'll see y'all again soon.